So I'm going to show you how to make a Rosie James picture using Photopea. So if you type in Photopea into the internet, it's an online editor where you'll be able to adjust your images. It doesn't automatically save to Google Drive, so you need to save any work that you do in here. And if the internet goes off, then you'll lose your work. So just be aware it's not the same as working on Google Drive. So it opens up like Photoshop. You've got tools down the side and controls at the top, and different windows that you can open. So if we go to File and Open, I've just been on the internet and collected some pictures of people, and I took some of your pictures of buildings out of your slideshow. So they should be in my recent folder. So I just have to wait for it to load up. So if I go to recent, because they were the last images I got, they should be close to the top. Alternatively, you can search for something in your drive if you didn't just save them. So these are the images. I'm going to get a picture of the pictures of the buildings. So if you hold down Control and click, you can open up more than one picture. So we need to flatten and simplify these images for the buildings that are at the back. So if I do Image, if I go to Image, Adjustments, and Posterize, this kind of turns it into flattened colours. So we're on 3 levels there. So it's turned the image into 3 levels. If you go higher up, it just ends up looking like the picture. So it's turning it into like 3 colours, 2 colours, 1 colour. So if we turn that down to 3, you can type it in or you can drag it. We could turn it down to 2 and see what that's like. And we could turn it down to, we could turn it down to 1. And that should just go. Oh, it's not letting me do 1. Okay, I'm actually going to do 3 because I think 3 will look better. Let's try 4. Okay, I'm going to go back down to 3. Although that's quite nice though. I think that is quite nice. Okay, so what you can do is change it all to monochrome colours. So we've simplified the shapes a little bit. So if you do Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and then we'll tick the colorize, it will just go the colour that's here. So I actually need to change the colour that's here to make it go into, sorry, I'm pressing the wrong things here. So I'm just going to change the colour that's in the foreground to a light blue, so that the whole thing should go shades of light blue. So if I do Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and then tick Colorize, I'm not sure why it's not gone blue. Let's try and drag this around and see if it works. Yeah, so it's actually gone the opposite of blue. So I think it's doing the underneath colour that's here. Let's try that. So if we switch them around, so I've turned it back to black and white. Let's try it again. See if this works. So I'm going to do Image, Adjustments, and then Hue Saturation, and tick Colorize. Oh, it went grey again. Very strange. Okay. So I've moved the hue now up here. So I think it was just because the saturation was down. So you can move by moving across here to get the colour that you want for the background colour. So then we're going to save. We'll do File, Export as JPEG. Okay, and we're going to turn the quality up and say Save. Now that'll save into your drive. So it's in a folder. So now we're going to go into Autodesk Sketchbook, which is an app on the Chromebook, which I think you've used before. And we're going to bring that picture into there and try and make it look like a Rosie James picture. This is just an image I was working on for someone else. So if you're not sure if you've saved a sketch that's already there, just say share, save to device. And then you can call it something. So I made this for Azza. So I'm just going to call it Azza. And then I'm going to open a new sketch. I've already saved it anyway, but we'll just do that. So now I've got a new piece of paper. I'm using my fingers to shrink the screen, and I can add images in from here. So I'm going to import an image. So you look at the mountains with the plus sign, and you go to recent, because these are the recent images that I just had. So there's the picture that I saved off Photopia. You can only bring in one at a time. I'm actually going to bring this Rosie James one in first of all as the inspiration, and I'm just going to pick it up and move it over to the left because that's the image I'm looking at to help me with the development of the next ones. So then I'm going to go back and get the buildings that we just saved. So this is why we changed it into a colour so that it looks a bit like the Rosie James picture. So we might want to eliminate in the end some of this because it's very busy down there, or sort of simplify this section by colouring it in. So I'm also going to get a picture of some people. So each time you bring a new picture in, it goes on a different layer. So where's some people? Here's some people. Okay, so I've got some people to put in the foreground of this picture. So I'm going to put them here. So I've moved them with the mouse and then I'm shrinking them with my fingers so that they're a bit smaller. So I'm maybe going to make them as wide as the image itself. So I can make it see-through and stuff when I'm inside Autodesk Sketchbook. So there's the images and they're all on separate layers. So we've already stylized the background. You can hide images so that you can see what you're doing. I think I'm going to colour this building on top so it's more flat because it's a bit intense. So I'm going to get a brush that I know to be quite a heavy brush, and I'm going to choose, you can use the colour picker by dragging on this. You can choose a colour that you've already got, so you can move the target around to choose a colour. So I'm going to choose the tone that's in this building. So I'm choosing that colour and I'm going to try and colour over that building just to make it more simple. So I'm going to use my stylus. Oh, I need to unhide the layer. So you need to make sure you're working on the layer that you actually want to be drawing on. So I am on it now. So I should be able to draw on it. So I'm just going to click the pen to make sure it knows that I want to draw. Oh, it's quite see-through. That's what's happening. So just check the opacity on the brush so that it's quite see-through, so it wasn't drawing. So I'm colouring over this building and using the shape of it. So I'm doing it with the stylus. Obviously, you take your time and do it a bit more carefully. It's because I want to make it as simplified as it is in the Rosie James pictures. So you take your time, do it carefully. If you want to keep bits of the windows and stuff like that, then do. I just think it would look a bit better if it was a bit more simple. So we're looking at the image on the left to inspire how we're developing this one. We can always crop this after. I just went a little bit outside the lines. Okay, so now I'm going to bring the people back, and on top of the people I'm going to add a layer. So I am going to trace around these people. I'm not going to keep the photographic layer there in the end. I'm shrinking the size of my brush and I'm going to change the colour of it to a dark brown. And I'm going to try and trace like Rosie James does. I'm going to try and trace around the people. So if I just make the people layer a bit see-through by clicking on it, if you right click, you can drag the opacity down. So you should be able to see what I'm drawing, and I'm going to work on the layer on top. Oh, didn't mean to hide it. So don't work on the photographic layer, work on the drawing on top. And I'll zoom in a bit by just pinching with my fingers so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to draw on top of the man to make him look like this lady here, like he's made from lines. So, oh, it's too big. Hold on. Let's make the pen smaller. Okay, so I'm going to draw using the stylus over the man. And I'm going to use a continuous line like I know Rosie James does, because hers is made from stitch, so it's just one continuous thread on the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm drawing around him and all the features and all the little details that you can see. It will enhance it and make it look more interesting if you do that. And it's actually quite nice if you do a wobbly line rather than a very controlled line, because it will then look a bit more like it's in her style. So I've got lots of folds and things here. So just kind of indicate them as best you can. So because I'm working on a layer above, I can always hide the photograph and then put it back later to see if there's anything that I'm missing. Because sometimes when it's a bit dark, it's hard to see. Okay, so I'm going to let go and hide that layer and see what that looks like. So that's quite nice. I've missed out his eye. He's got no features there. Okay, so he appears as a see-through person if we shrink it back out again. He appears as a see-through person, which some of these people are as well, but there's also solid people. So what you can do for that, if I just put the people back on, so we can trace the other people as well. So I'm going to trace this lady here, but this time you need to make an outline that has no gaps in it, because you won't be able to fill it if it has gaps. So I'm just making a solid outline, a solid shape that definitely joins together again, and then I'll show you what you can do to fill it in. So it's a solid outline, and then if I go onto the selection tool and choose the magic wand, make sure I'm on that layer, I can click inside that shape and then I can fill it with a colour by choosing solid fill and choose the colour from here. So let's say I want this colour to fill in. So if I click in this space here, you'll see that the person gets filled in. And then you can do select here and deselect. And then you can see that she's got a filled in space. So it's similar to those people. Now you can add, if I reselect, or actually I'll have to click on it now to select it. You can actually add patterns in. So there's some patterns in this library. If you click at the top here and then go to library, some of the brushes are like patterns. So we could add, well, choose whatever pattern you think. You could add any pattern from in there, choose the colour that you're going to add it in with, and you can make it subtle if you change the opacity down. So I've just clicked and dragged to the left. So you can look, this man has pattern on him. So if I click in here, I'm adding a pattern to her. So you can add pattern to some of the people if you want to. So anything that you need to deselect, you just go on selection and deselect. So that's how you could make an image like Rosie James's.